The lake was a glassy expanse of ice, reflecting the pale glow of the moon. Rob and his teenage son Liam trudged across the frozen surface, their breath fogging in the biting air. It was supposed to be a simple bonding trip. Just them, a fishing hut, and the promise of silence away from the world. But as they reached an abandoned ice fishing hut, something felt wrong. "Dad, look at this," Liam said, pointing to the hut. The wooden walls were scratched with deep, jagged lines, as though something or someone had clawed at it from the outside. Inside, the floor was littered with old fishing gear and a single photograph. The photo showed a man and a boy standing by the same lake, their faces eerily blurred. As they drilled their hole into the ice, the lake groaned beneath them, the sound reverberating like a low growl. Hours passed with little action until a strange knocking sound came from beneath the ice. "Is that fish?" Liam asked, leaning closer. The knocking grew louder, more insistent. Suddenly, Liam's fishing rod jerked violently, and he was yanked toward the hole. Rob grabbed his son just in time. "Something's under there," Liam gasped. But when they peered into the hole, they saw only their reflections and a shadow moving just below them. Deciding they had enough, they packed their gear and hurried to leave. But as they exited the hut, Rob froze. "Liam," he whispered, holding up the photograph they had found earlier. The blurred faces had become clearer, and now they were unmistakably Rob and Liam. Back home that night, Rob's phone buzzed. It was a voicemail, time-stamped just after they left the lake. Playing it, his blood ran cold. It was his own voice whispering, "Come back to the lake." The group of 4 friends laughed as they unloaded their gear by the edge of Black Hollow Lake. It was their annual winter trip, but this year the lake had an unsettling reputation. Local legend spoke of a fisherman who drowned decades ago, his screams echoing across the ice on stormy nights. "Just stories," Jared scoffed, tapping his fishing rod on the ice. The others laughed, but as they set up their tents, the wind picked up, howling like a distant scream. Night fell quickly, the temperature plunging. As the friends huddled in their tents, the wind outside carried a strange, high-pitched wail. At first they dismissed it as the storm, but then the ice beneath them began to crackle unnaturally, not outward but inward, as if something was pressing from below. "Did you hear that?" Mia whispered. The others nodded, their breath visible in the frigid air. Suddenly, Jared stood up, his eyes glazed. "It's calling me," he muttered, walking toward the fishing hole. The group tried to stop him, but he was unnaturally strong. Jared reached the hole and stood motionless, staring into the black water. Moments later, the ice cracked, and Jared's fishing gear was pulled into the water. Yet the hole remained eerily still, the surface unbroken. Jared turned to them and whispered, "It's not done with us yet." When they fled the lake the next morning, they told the authorities about Jared's disappearance. Days later, searchers found his boots, frozen upright in the middle of the lake. The ice beneath them was perfectly solid. Mark's YouTube vlog had always been about solo adventures. Ice fishing at Glacier Lake was supposed to be another simple video, but as he set up his camera and began narrating, he noticed something strange on playback. Faint whispers, like someone murmuring just behind him. "Wind," he muttered, brushing it off. He drilled his hole and cast his line, keeping the camera rolling. But as the hours passed, the whispers grew louder. Mark's viewers began commenting on his live stream. "Who's standing behind you?" One wrote. Another chimed in, "There's a woman in white by the tent." He spun around, but no one was there. His gear began to shift on its own, his tackle box sliding across the ice as though pushed by invisible hands. Panicked, he decided to pack up. But when he reached for his camera, the screen flickered, showing an image of the fishing hole, with a pale, shadowy figure staring up from beneath the ice. Mark ran, but the whispers followed. He tripped and fell near another hole in the ice, realizing too late that it wasn't the one he had drilled. The screen went black as the camera fell from his hands. The next day, searchers found his phone frozen to the ice.